If you ask people today who the original residents of India are, you'll get a dozen conflicting answers. Some point to religion, others to caste. Some argue for the Aryan invasion theory, where outsiders subjugated the locals, while others fiercely defend the out of India theory, claiming this civilization is the birthplace of all others. For centuries, these arguments relied on ancient texts and isolated archaeological fragments. The problem is, history is written by people, and people carry biases. We simply lacked the hard data to settle the argument. That changed with the arrival of ancient DNA analysis. Unlike a scripture or a stone tablet, DNA does not care about ideology, religion, or modern borders. It is a strictly biological record. We are going to look at the exact genetic markers left behind by our ancestors. We're conducting a forensic genetic audit of the subcontinent to answer one specific question: does a pure Indian actually exist? A persistent political talking point claims that North Indians and South Indians come from entirely different biological lineages. To test this, we have to look at the oldest genetic signatures found in the population. By tracking specific genetic markers, scientists can map early human movement. One such marker is haplogroup L3. This shows a migration path originating in Africa and moving along the southern coastal route, reaching the Indian subcontinent around 65,000 years ago. This chart compares the DNA of modern North Indians, South Indians, and tribal populations. Notice how, regardless of language or caste, the bars all fill up with the same foundational layer. Between 50 to 65% of the DNA in every single Indian living today comes from that exact same African migration. The data is clear. There is no biological divide separating the different regions of the country. The bedrock of our genetic makeup is identical. We all share this exact same first Indian foundation. When looking at the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro and the vast Indus Valley civilization, the question has always been, who exactly built these organized cities, and where did they go? In 2019, researchers extracted DNA from a 4,500-year-old skeleton found at the Rakhigarhi excavation site in Haryana. The sequence revealed a precise mixture: the baseline first Indian DNA combined with the DNA of agriculturalists from the Zagros Mountains on Dagestan, who had been migrating into the region for millennia. When climate change caused the Indus Valley civilization to decline, those people didn't simply vanish. The genetics show they migrated southward, mixing further with the local populations to form a new genetic cluster that scientists call Ancestral South Indian, or ASI. That ASI cluster matches the genetic profile of modern Dravidian populations. The people speaking languages like Tamil and Telugu today are the direct genetic descendants of the original Harappan villagers. The most contested chapter in this history involves the origins of Vedic culture and the Sanskrit language. Around 4,000 years ago, as the Harappan cities were emptying out, a new group of people began a slow migration toward South Asia from the Central Asian steppes, the vast grasslands covering parts of modern-day Russia and Kazakhstan. We can trace this movement by looking at the Y chromosome, specifically a marker called R1A, which is passed strictly from father to son. Modern Indian populations show very high frequencies of this specific steppe lineage. But when we look at mitochondrial DNA, which is passed exclusively from mother to daughter, the steppe signature is mostly absent. The female lineage traces right back to the first Indians. This tells us exactly how this demographic shift happened. The migrating steppe groups were heavily skewed toward males. These steppe males had children with the local women, creating what is known as the ancestral North Indian cluster. Today, the highest frequency of this steppe DNA is found in upper caste communities, particularly North Indian Brahmins. This tracks with the historical arrival and spread of the Proto-Sanskrit language. There is no archaeological evidence of a violent invasion, nor did this culture originate entirely on the subcontinent. The Aryan element was a slow, patriarchal migration over centuries that integrated with the existing population to weave the next layer of Indian identity. India was a genetic blender of first Indians, Zagros farmers, and steppe migrants for millennia. But that raises a contradiction. Why is the modern population divided into thousands of rigid castes? This graph visualizes genetic data analyzed by Harvard researchers. It tracks the intermixing of populations over millennia. Notice how the line fluctuates heavily, indicating constant blending until roughly 1900 years ago, around the year 100 CE. At that point, the intermixing suddenly stops dead. The data captures the exact moment the caste system hardened. A strict socio-cultural practice took hold across the region: endogamy. People began reproducing exclusively within their own social groups, locking the genetic code. Trapping these lineages in isolation created a biological bottleneck. With genes no longer flowing between communities, rare genetic diseases became localized and multiplied. The audit is complete. The biological record shows that whether someone claims to be pure Brahmin, pure Rajput, or pure Jat, they are defying science. Every person on the subcontinent is a mixed recipe of these ancient migrations. This genetic data corrects the historical record and dismantles the myth of biological superiority, proving that under the surface, the population is intrinsically connected.